What is up, guys? Man, I appreciate y'all tuning in so much, man. We got a lot to talk about. I know National Signing Day is on a lot of people's minds. Listen, so we're going to preview the semifinal games, but then at the end of the show, we'll kind of turn it into a mailbag like we always do, where I'll take y'all's live questions for a little bit because I know a lot of people got a lot of questions about signing day, about the transfer portal, about certain teams that may not even be in the playoffs but are at the FCS level. Listen, man, I got some time tonight. I will answer all y'all's questions at the end of the show after we kind of break down some of these games. But man, if you're new, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on the video, of course, and share it, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. Listen, the semifinals are here, and I think we have two matchups right now that really and truly could probably be national championship matchups if the I guess bracket was assembled differently, man. Man, shout out to Ralph. Thank you for tuning in, man. I'm good. Hope y'all are doing well. Let's see, man. But we got to start. Listen, South Dakota State traveling up there to Montana State. This game sold out in like a matter of I believe it was only like a day or so. So shout out to both of these teams for turning out and supporting the FCS playoffs. Listen, it's a big weekend for the FCS. Let me just say this real quick. Get on my soapbox, and then we'll preview the game. Last weekend, North Dakota State ETSU was hit almost 2 million views last weekend. The Celebration Bowls this weekend. We have two semifinal games. If you are an FCS fan, I don't care if you're a Big Sky fan, if you're if you're a Missouri Valley, OVC, SWAC, MEAC, it doesn't matter. SoCon, make sure to support the FCS as a whole. The more views, the more interaction, the more hype these game gets, the better TV deals in the future, and the more money to the FCS. So make sure to support all the FCS games this week. We got one tomorrow night, James Madison, North Dakota State. Celebration Bowls at 11 a.m. on ABC on Saturday. And then this game, South Dakota State, Montana State, will be at 1 o'clock on Saturday after the Celebration Bowl. So there's no excuse not to tune in to all the FCS action this weekend. So make sure to tune in and make sure to spread the word about what is going on at the FCS level. Now, for this matchup, South Dakota State, Montana State. South Dakota State, who is not the seed, is a 5.5-point favorite. Kicks off on ESPN2 at 1 o'clock, like I said. So I do have keys for the game. I have matchups to watch, and I'll break down why I picked them here. But the key for South Dakota State, we'll start here, is to run the football, run it some more. And if I'm South Dakota State, I'm saying I am running the football down Montana State's throat for 60 minutes. You don't want Chris Duncan to have to put the ball in the air. You're not going to want to have to rely on him for much. If I am South Dakota State and I can keep Chris Duncan under about 18 attempts, I feel really good about myself potentially winning this game. So the key for South Dakota State for me is to run the football at nauseum, man. Absolutely, to the point where if you're watching this game, I want them to say, dang, man, like, are they going to ever put the ball in the air? The answer should be no. Pierre Strong should get the ball at least 25 times. Pierre Strong this year, over 1,500 rushing yards, 7 yards per carry, 17 rushing touchdowns. And then you also have Isaiah Davis, who at the same time, just like Pierre Strong, can take over a game if he gets going. You look, he's had over 600 yards rushing. He's averaging over 8 yards per carry and 7 rushing touchdowns. Those are the two guys I really want to see get going. And then on top of that, you also have Amar Johnson as well, who can be kind of that rotational piece. And then on top of that, Chris Duncan can be a bit athletic and get moving outside the pocket. But if I'm looking for an X factor this weekend, if I'm a South Dakota State fan, Pierre Strong is your guy. That is the guy you're going to have to look for to have a giant game. Montana State's defense is fast. They're physical, and they're extremely disciplined. This Montana State defense is not going to make many mistakes in terms of over pursuit, gap integrity, etc. They are going to be on key, especially in front of their home crowd. That place is going to be rocking. It's going to be cold. I'm assuming it's going to be cold. And listen, they posted a picture on Twitter. Listen, it looked like it snowed all week. It looked like it snowed a lot of the week up there in Montana. So South Dakota State's got to be ready for that too. And those fans are going to be electric as well. So you've got to take the wind out of the sails, run the football down Montana State's throat. And on top of that, you've got to account for Troy Anderson, man. let's just keep it a buck. That kid is going to be a problem at the linebacker spot. He is so athletic and so fast playing sideline to sideline. And he is one of those guys that if you don't game plan for, it's going to cost you in the long run because he can drop back in pass coverage. He's a very strong run defender, and he can get after the quarterback if they decide to bring him on the blitz due to his speed. Listen, he's got safety, he's got DB speed, D line size, and linebacker athleticism. This kid is such an enigma at his position. And listen, I want to get him on the show so bad after the season. I'm not reaching out to any players in the playoffs yet. But he's going to be a guy I'm just going to be like, listen, what do I got to do to get you on the show? Because he's that type of player. So Pierre Strong, Isaiah Davis, and the South Dakota State offense has to run the football. That's going to be their key this weekend. Now, for Montana State, there could be one of, I would say, many keys for them because they do a lot of things well. But for me, I know some people are going to say, Zach, I don't know about that key. It's put the ball in Tommy Malo's hands. I know he's not a very strong passer. He's a run first type quarterback. Now he's taken over for Matthew McKay, who ended up transferring right before the playoffs. But last week, if you put the ball in Tommy Malo's hands and he can get the run game going with himself, Isaiah Afonso, I believe it's Elijah Elliott is their rotational back. If they get the run game going and you let Tommy Malo get some deep passes going, some high percentage deep passes like they did against Sam Houston last week, where they sucked in those safeties one-on-one on the outside and they took a shot. If he can generate, I would say 2 to 3 explosive plays through the pass game this weekend, Montana State's going to be real tough to beat. So running the football, you starts with Afonso, starts with Malo. Both of these guys have had outstanding seasons, but putting the ball in Tommy Malo's hands, I think, is a way that Montana State can win this football game because they do it the same way every single week. Their defense is opportunistic, their defense is fast, physical, and they keep it a low-scoring game, and then they're going to go put up some points. Tommy Malo is going to be the key for Montana State. If he plays like he did last week against Sam Houston, Montana State is going to be the hardest team to get out in the playoffs. They played excellent last weekend against Sam Houston. They're going to need a repeat. Isaiah Afonso is going to be a key as well. 1,500 rushing yards, 10 rushing touchdowns this year. Malo at quarterback, over 550 on the ground, 8 rushing touchdowns. And then on top of that, Elijah Elliott can also be that rotational piece. But I think the matchup to watch, and I usually say matchups in terms of O-line, D-line, or things like that. The matchup to watch for me in this game is which position group on either team wins their battle. And that's going to be the front seven battle for these two teams. Are the linebackers and D linemen for Montana State going to outplay the linebackers and D linemen on South Dakota State, especially the linebackers? I already mentioned Anderson for Montana State. He's going to be the leader at the linebacking spot for them. But then on defense for South Dakota State, you have so many different guys. Adam Bach, you have I'm blanking. Logan, I believe, is Backenhouse as well. These two guys have to have big games. Adam Bach, 119 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups, 2 INTs, and then on top of that, Bacchus has 55 total tackles, has multiple pass breakups. These two guys have to step up their game. They're facing a very tough Montana State offense that's very physical in their front five. If either of these linebacking corps has a bad game in terms of gap protection, pursuit, coverage, everything, they have to have an all-around game this weekend. I think that's going to be the matchup that pretty much determines who wins this game. You have to play stout defense this weekend if you're one of these teams, because if it gets into a shootout and these two quarterbacks are forced to have you got to get thrown back into a game, that's going to signal trouble for both teams, because Malo and Ola Duncan are not air raid style quarterbacks. They work off the run very well, especially Malo. So if you get behind early, we've seen South Dakota State jump out to a 24-0 lead on UC Davis. We saw Montana State last week jump out 28-0 on Sam Houston. You cannot get into a deficit like that if you're either of these two teams. If you get the run game taken away from you, man, I got a tough time seeing either of these teams pull that one out. Whichever team gets down, and it has to become, you got to get thrown back into a game. That's going to signal real problems for both of these teams. But that's my matchup to watch. Those are my keys. So my prediction for this game And I'm having a real tough time predicting this game. I'm not going to lie. This game, I think, is going to stay within 10. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think both of these teams, depending on what the weather is going to look like, are going to try to keep it on the ground, like I said. And so I think this is going to be a defensive struggle. But ultimately, I'm going to ride with Montana State and that momentum, man. They get the home field advantage. I have Montana State winning this game 20-17 over South Dakota State up there in Montana. I picked them last week as my underdog upset. They put on a show last week against Sam Houston State. I think they got the momentum. Tommy Malo is rolling. That offense is rolling, and that defense is extremely athletic. So for me, I think Montana State is going to stay hot this weekend and pull off the upset over South Dakota State this weekend in a huge semifinal game on Saturday, 1 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2. Guys, tune into this one, but I'm riding with Montana State in an upset this weekend. Let me get to some of these comments. Appreciate you, Sonic Boom, man. Listen, I know you're a SWAT guy. Appreciate you supporting the FCS content, man. Really appreciate that. Walter said, hardest working man in football podcasting, my man. Go Cats, go. I appreciate you, Walter, man. Thank you for tuning in. Finisher said Montana State's defense is legit, always reliable. The offense is schizophrenic. That is Finisher. That is a great word for it. And I have never ever heard someone call an offense that word. That's Finisher. I got you. Mr. Campbell said, I got James Madison finally going to get their money's worth, man. That's the game we get into next, Mr. Campbell. But Mr. Campbell, I know you're watching. Let's just say one of those FAMU recruits yesterday, I got them scheduled to come on the show, man. I'm getting that interview in for FAMU. So stay tuned. And also I'm dropping FAMU's recruiting update tomorrow morning, Mr. Campbell, just for you guys. T, so that's my boy Blue. Appreciate you, T, man. Appreciate you tuning in. But yep, got Montana State in the upset. Let's see. I am here just to hate on the playoffs since the Rattlers lost. Oh man, Mr. Campbell's too much. I don't blame him. Listen, the Rattlers are going to be there next year. Unless they beat Jackson State, the Rattlers will probably find themselves in the playoffs again, man. So someone from the SWAC's getting in the playoffs next year. T said Montana State's defense is brutal. They have a middle linebacker that's a hitter. Yeah, man. That the linebacking core for Montana State is the key to that entire team. That linebacking core is a problem, a whole problem. Oh man, you already know, Mr. Campbell, man. I appreciate y'all's support, man. But let's get to our other game before I start taking y'all's questions and get to y'all's predictions. James Madison traveling to the Fargo Dome up there in North Dakota. North Dakota State is a 5-point favorite this weekend. And this game, prime time tomorrow night, guys. Prime time on, I believe it's ESPN2 again. Yep, 8:15 Eastern Time, 7:15 Central Time. If you're looking for it, no reason not to tune into this game. There's nothing going on tomorrow night. Make sure to tune into this one because this, in my opinion, is probably has been the matchup of the year thus far in the playoffs. And I cannot wait for this one. But the keys to the game for North Dakota State this weekend. That's where we're going to start here, man. And I had to say it. Listen, avoid passing is the first key. The second part to it, bring Tamarick Williams into the game in an ice bath. And after running it 100 times, you could take him off the field in an ice bath. He should have as many carries as you need. Tamarick Williams in this rushing attack has to be on point for North Dakota State. If they have to pass the ball more than 25 times, North Dakota State is going to lose this game. I'm just going to say it. If they cannot run the football against this James Madison front, it's going to be a problem, man. And I think you have to run the football if you're North Dakota State. Your quarterback is not. I would say he's a better runner than he is passer. Cam Miller's solid. He just is not going to be a guy who can drop back 30 times and air it out around the field. They have to run the football, and this is by far, and I'm going to say it, by far their toughest matchup of the season in terms of having to run the football. They have not seen a front seven like James Madison is bringing into this game. So Tamarick Williams, Kobe Johnson, Quincy Patterson when he sees time, Jalen Busey, Hunter Lepeque, Cam Miller. They have so many guys who can run the football. They have to absolutely they gotta impose their will. That's the key word there. Impose their will on James Madison. They have a solid offensive line. They've been playing some of the best football in the country right now in terms of offensive line play. It has to continue this weekend, and they have to get this Fargo Dome rocking, or James Madison is going to offer them a lot of problems. Now, like I said, I mentioned Tamarick Williams, 700 yards rushing, over 6 yards per carry, 12 rushing touchdowns. Quincy Patterson, when he comes into the game, has averaged almost 6 yards per carry, 7 rushing touchdowns. And then a secret weapon, man, Hunter Lepeak at that, kind of like H-back, fullback spot, man, 350 over 6.5 yards per carry and 5 rushing touchdowns this year. He's going to be an interesting key to this rushing attack. I think he can offer a nice change of pace. And at the goal line, man, he is going to be a key because he is just he's so hard to bring down, especially if you don't get him around the legs, man. He was going to run right through you. And now for James Madison, man, on top of that, and I say their key is balance, and a little bit of Cole Johnson. That's how we classify the key for James Madison. You want to be balanced because this defense for North Dakota State is too good for you to be one-dimensional. But at the same time, the key's got to be Cole Johnson, man. 3,500 passing yards, 39 passing touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, which is so key right now. Only 2 interceptions, and he has been an absolute playmaker for this team. In terms of the rushing game, 6 rushing touchdowns. He's not dual threat. He's just extremely athletic. He can get out of the pocket and get out of bad situations and make a play. And the reason I say balance, we saw last week with Percy, with Latrell Palmer, these guys have an ability to get loose if they get past that first level. Also, Austin Douglas and I believe Lorenzo Bryant, all these guys showed what they could do last weekend. But I don't think they're going to be able to have that type of rushing success against this North Dakota State front. So for me, I think they got to be balanced and help Cole Johnson out to establish some play action, establish some things down the field. But on top of that, they cannot forget about the run game because North Dakota State, if they establish theirs, they're going to look to control the clock, keep your defense on the field for 35 to 40 minutes of the game. And that's going to be a recipe for the disaster for James Madison, even though they have a lot of depth on that defensive front. So for me, it's balance, and just a little bit of Cole Johnson passing the football. When you look at their receiving core, they got some guys that can go make a play. Antwain Wells Jr. is the guy, though. 1,100 yards receiving, 14 receiving touchdowns, and also Chris Thornton, over 1,000 yards receiving, 13 receiving touchdowns. Number 7 and number 8, man, they're right there together, and they are the guys that you are going to have to account for if you're the secondary of North Dakota State. And the number one thing, if Cole Johnson can take care of the ball, he's taken care of it all year. 2 interceptions up until this point of the season. If he takes care of the ball, that's really gonna put a lot of stress on North Dakota State, who excels in creating turnovers on the defensive side of the football. So that's why Cole Johnson has got to be part of this key for James Madison. Now, for the matchup to watch, it was easy for me, man. James Madison's D-line versus North Dakota State's offensive line. You have to block this front 7. If they can get after you and get to the quarterback, they are going to absolutely wreak havoc in the game. And you guys know this. We've talked about this on the show. Mike Green, Bryce Carter, Isaac Awuku. These 3 guys are problems. Listen, Isaac, 16 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Then you go to Bryce, 19 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 7 QB hurries. Mike Green missed a little bit of time with injury, but he's come back in a big way, 4 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. And on top of that, they still have Tony Thurston in the interior of that defensive line that can make plays. So if North Dakota State cannot block up the front 7 of James Madison, it's going to cause a lot of issues, in my opinion, for North Dakota State. So that's why that's the matchup to watch. If you can't slow down those top 3 guys, they're going to wreak havoc. Last weekend, Montana did not do a great job of slowing down that front, and it really caused that offense to stall out. So that's why that's so important, to block up that front 7 and allow your rushing game to get some yardage. That's an NFL type matchup, and I'm so excited as an O line guy to see North Dakota State's O line against some guys who are going to play at the next level on James Madison's defensive line. If you are into matchups, watching the best versus best, that's probably the best matchup of the weekend in any football game, man. James Madison's D line against North Dakota State's offensive line. Whoever wins that matchup is going to go a long way in determining who gets out of the Fargo Dome with a chance to win a national championship. Now, I've been riding with North Dakota State all year long, man. I said that since last year, they've really had a chip on their shoulder with something to prove. But when I create a team that really is going to give them problems, it's an efficient quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over. Check with Cole Johnson. It's a team that can match their rushing output. They got some dogs at the running back spot, and it's a team that can match their physicality in the trenches. And that's another checkbox for James Madison. I'm going with back-to-back upsets in both of these games. I'm going James Madison winning this one 24-20 over North Dakota State in the Fargo Dome this weekend. I just think they're too big on the defensive line, and I think Cole Johnson is too efficient at the quarterback spot, and that offense is going to give North Dakota State a lot of problems, even in the Fargo Dome. So for the first time on this show, man, I'm picking against the Bison. I know my guy Dave is going to be very upset with me, but I'm going James Madison by 4 over North Dakota State this weekend. We get back to some of these comments real quick. Whoever wins this game may lose the championship game. Oh, it's going to be a drag out fight, T. Whoever's coming out of this one is going to be banged up. Crazy Criminal said best matchup this weekend and the year in FCS. North Dakota State is tough to beat at home. They are, man. The Fargo Dome is no joke in terms of home field advantage. James Madison and North Dakota State is going to be a snot knocker, man. That's too much, man. Terrence said James Madison will win 35-21. Oh, man, a double-digit win in the Fargo Dome, Terrence. That would be record-setting right there, man. I like the pick, though. I like the pick. North Dakota State has a first-year freshman QB. Only has about 1,500 yards passing. Yeah, well, I know Patterson took a lot of the first snaps earlier this season, T, and then they kind of moved to Cam. But we're gonna see what Cam Miller's made of. This is the moment we're gonna find out if Cam Miller is a legit QB1 or he's kind of been carried by the rest of the team all year long. This is going to be a real test of what they have. Terrence said James Madison will win the national title. Okay, well, we know who Terrence is picking. I like the pick, man. I do think that James Madison has a great shot. I gave them the second best odds when the playoffs started to win. I think that this team's so complete right now. They're playing really good football. JMU's D-line are some big boys. They must live in the gym. They absolutely do, man. So, what's up? What's up, G, man? Appreciate you tuning in, man. North Dakota State's O-line is not the biggest, but probably the strongest. James Madison's O-line is huge and the best blocking fundamentally. Oh, man, this game probably has multiple offensive linemen. They're going to find their way on some sort of NFL roster. I don't know if they'll all get drafted, but there's going to be some guys, at least in training camp over the next few seasons from both these O-lines. These are, in my opinion, I think the 4 teams that made it have some of the best offensive lines in the FCS. So that shows you how important O-line play is in the playoffs. If you don't have O-line play, it's real hard to establish yourself in the FCS playoffs. James Madison, running back, has to come alive. They have 2 wide receivers that continue to catch everything. Man, listen. T, I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't think I can even put it into words how efficient Wells and Thornton are at the wide receiver spot for James Madison. They, like you said, catch absolutely everything, and it is so impressive how well they play throughout the playoffs. Let's see. Silent said these wide receivers are going to route up North Dakota State secondary. Listen, and North Dakota State makes a living off of creating explosive plays, creating turnovers and things like that to put the other team in real bad positions. Last week, they didn't play their best football against ETSU, but due to I would say the lack of offensive execution for ETSU, that really cost them the game. They had too many. They turned the ball over. They weren't efficient. They didn't execute at a high level, and ultimately that really cost ETSU last week against North Dakota State. And they gave them every chance throughout that game to come back, but the run game and the defense played outstanding for North Dakota State. So I agree that this is probably toughest team North Dakota State's seen all year, and vice versa as well, because we're in the semifinals, man. All four of these teams deserve to be here. They all have excellent players and things like that. So I'm not surprised any of these four teams have gotten here. I think a lot of people might be surprised Montana State got here after the beatdown that they put on Sam Houston, but they absolutely deserve it. They've been playing outstanding football, man. So to recap real quick for the people who just tuned in, I went with Montana State. I went with Montana State over South Dakota State in the upset. And then I also went with James Madison over North Dakota State in the upset in this one. So those are my two picks this weekend. Last week we went 4-0. I got a lot of criticism for picking my upset pick last week. No one thought that those Montana State guys can do it. They put on a show against Sam Houston, got me to that 4-0. That game I was so worried about. So going with two upsets this weekend, ultimately think that James Madison right now is the most complete team in the country as of right this second. And on top of that, I just think Montana State, that home field advantage, and on top of that, they're a really bad matchup for that running attack of South Dakota State. So those are my two picks. But guys, let me know who your favorites are this weekend. And also, I know there was a poll, man. Let me know who y'all voted for in terms of who's your national championship favorite. T said the Bluebloods peer pressure to give Montana State. This time it wasn't peer pressure. Listen, it might have got to me last week, T, but right now I do think Montana State is playing really good football. And shockingly, and T, I'm going to be honest with you, I criticized them on my first episode that I previewed the playoffs. In the first round, I criticized them for losing McKay. And I said, the fact that you have to put in Malo is just a black stain on the program. And I went really hard at him. And I said he wasn't ready for the moment. He's played lights out every single round of these playoffs thus far. So I had to buy into the hype eventually, man. I just think there's always that team, T, that just has that momentum. And right now, it's Montana State for me. Let's see. Sean's got James Madison. Mr. Campbell's got James Madison. I like it. Oh, Crazy Criminal said Dakota rematch for the chip. So he is going with South Dakota State and he's going with North Dakota State. And listen, I'll say this. I think that would be the best for ratings. In all actuality, I think South Dakota State versus North Dakota State in the championship game, that would do numbers. That would be one of the most hyped games that, in my opinion, that could be in the national championship. I said that on a previous episode. I think that would be a crazy matchup, man. South Dakota State O-line or Hughes look like the Cowboys Super Bowl offensive line. I like that comparison. Lawrence said he's got Montana State and James Madison. Oh, he's rocking with me. Okay, I appreciate you, Lawrence. You see, me and Lawrence never agree on anything. Like me and Lawrence have picked against each other all throughout the playoffs. So the fact that we agree on this could be good or it could be very bad for my picks, man. T wants to deal with the McKay transfer. So with McKay, man, so it kind of came out of nowhere when it first was announced, but some details have emerged that he was informed that they were going to ride with Malo into the playoffs anyway, and that he didn't take being benched right before the playoffs well, and that's why he's transferred. That's at least what I've read and that I've heard, T. I don't know. I can't really confirm it. I reached out for McKay to do an interview. He never got back to me. I don't think he's released a statement on it, but from all the reports out of Montana State has said that he was informed he wasn't going to be the starter going forward into the playoffs, and ultimately decided to transfer due to that. Finisher said James Madison all the way, although I wouldn't mind seeing Montana State win it. I think so if you had to look at it, the story, the story win would be Montana State to be the 8th seed, to do it with a quote unquote backup quarterback. That would be a crazy story. South Dakota State winning would be an insane story as well, because they came just one play away from winning it last year, finisher. So those would be the good-hearted fields, while, James Madison and North Dakota State have been the top dogs all year long. It won't surprise, I don't think it would surprise anybody if they won it. Those would just be, the favorites winning it anyway. So I think the two feel-good picks are on one side of the bracket. The two powerhouses that everyone in the world picked to win it was on the other side of the bracket. So I think that's kind of the way that worked out is kind of weird in my opinion. The Dakota schools have a crazy rivalry. Oh man, listen, it's just the same. Like what it's just the same when like LSU and Alabama played in the national title. That game got so much hype, and then you might have a Georgia Alabama FBS championship this year too. So I mean, the rivalry is going to be crazy there. But I mean, the in-state rivalry would be like, I mean, this would be like Alabama playing Auburn in the national championship, or even like Michigan, Ohio State. Even though it's not an in-state rivalry, it's still one of the biggest. I mean, it's going to be crazy if the Dakotas meet up in that. Yeah, so Walter's the guy, like my Montana State guy. So he said that's accurate in terms of McKay knowing he wasn't going to be the starter. Lawrence said, "I like Montana State to win it all. Send James Madison off to the FBS with the loss." Um, this is an interesting question. I want to see what y'all's opinions are. How important is it for James Madison to win the title before they move up? Would it put a damper on the move up if they lose the championship or lose this weekend in the semifinals? What do you guys think? Because I think that's an interesting topic, and um, I want to see how y'all feel about it. Because for me, I think it would put a small damper on it. I don't think it would, deter anything. But I still think going into the FBS as a national champion will do more in terms of the hype entering a new conference, rather than if you lose to a Montana State or a North Dakota State or even a South Dakota State in the national championship. I want to know: do you guys think they need to win the title before moving up? Ronnie said North Dakota State is not losing to James Madison twice at home. Not happening. Bobcat fan, but you have to feel for them 16 seconds away from the national title. Anyway it goes, it'll be a good FCS football. Man, appreciate your support, Ron. And yeah, I agree. Listen, if James Madison beats North Dakota State in the Fargo Dome twice, man, that Fargo Dome is going to be going insane. But yeah, 16 seconds away from losing the national title, man. We had Logan Bacchus on the show, the linebacker from South Dakota State, and he was kind of talking about that feeling, and he said that just it hangs over you for even now that you just think about like what if one snap went the other way, and that's how close they were to winning a national title. So I can't imagine, man. July 2023 is when the move will be official. That's true, but I know but I'm pretty sure I've read it, or I'll have to fact check it. I saw an article saying the FBS might try to keep them, or the FCS might try to keep them out of the playoffs the last year, like as a way to like disprove their move or something like that. So I know there was a rumor that the NCAA was going to try to keep them out of the playoffs in their real final year. So I don't know if that's like necessarily true or not, or will really happen, but that's why I was saying, how important is winning the title this year? If like let's say they're not in the playoffs next year or something like that, but if they can actually go to the playoffs next year, then I guess it wouldn't really matter. They would have to win it next year then. Chris said, honestly, no. Also, no, it's off topic, but I got Michigan, Alabama, the national title. Hey, that's fair, man. I think that there's actually more people picking Michigan, Chris, than you might think. I can't wait to release those previews. I got them coming next week, but I honestly think that the Georgia Michigan game is going to be a lot closer than people think. So I think those are good picks, man. I really do. Expect James Madison to make the transition to FBS about as smooth as App State did. Man, the program's built for it, man. I agree with you. I think they'll be just fine moving up. Jacksonville State would be one that I think will be a tougher move to the FBS. And, Sam Houston should be okay, but I think Jacksonville State would be the toughest one in terms of them moving up. James Madison should be fine, though. Um, you want to win going out, but if they lose to North Dakota State, it's not as bad since North Dakota. Oh man, Mr. Campbell's out here, man. Oh man, that's funny. Listen, North Dakota State, Mr. Campbell. So I got your answer. I talked to a North Dakota State guy, and he said that the reason they can't move up is their stadium's not big enough. So they'd have to build a new Fargo Dome or find a way to expand the Fargo Dome before moving up, Mr. Campbell. That's their supposed excuse for that. But yeah, I guess it won't be too bad since technically North Dakota State could also move up. They need to go to like the Mountain West or something like that, man. I would like to see North Dakota State try their hand at FBS. Let's see, national championship will be held. Will help them with recruiting. Yeah, man. Listen, they got so many. They got so many teams to recruit with, and I mean, even with Virginia, like you still have those other schools around there. I mean, North Carolina, South Carolina, Clemson, all those schools also recruit up there. Wake Forest. you got so many teams you got to compete with, not just in the state T, but also just all around them. It looked better for FCS if JMU won the title. That is true. Where will Sam Houston go for the FES? So they're going to, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to is it the Sun Belt or the CUSA, guys? I think it's one of those two, but I'm pretty sure it's the Sun Belt for Sam Houston going to the FBS. So they've already confirmed the move and everything. I think they're going to 2023 as well. So, yeah, they're moving up with Jacksonville State. What are we going out? Yeah. What's up, underscore, man? Appreciate you tuning in, man. Appreciate you tuning in. JSU is going to struggle the most, but they did beat Florida State this year. Yeah, but how bad? How Florida State was so bad this year. I don't know. Jacksonville State deserved that win, man. Deserved that win. JMU is playing with a vengeance. The FCS slided on this year with their playoff seedings. That's true. I did see a lot of James Madison fans in the FCS group say that they thought they should be a top 2 seed. So that is true. They did feel a little bit disrespected. I don't like that move to exclude them from the playoffs next year. We want good football, no hard feelings. I'll be looking forward to watching those Sun Belt games next year. I agree, man. Listen, I'm pumped to see I'm pumped to see how they do, man. I want every team moving up or whatever to do well. So I'll be rooting for all the teams moving up next year. But I agree, they should be able to play in the playoffs, man. I don't know why you got to be spiteful about it. I mean, they're doing what's best for their university, in their opinion. Like, there's no reason to exclude them just based on being salty about them moving up. Mr. Campbell said likely story. I already know Mr. Campbell's looking up. He's checking the facts for all you North Dakota State fans saying that. Mr. Campbell will let you know. Mr. Campbell will let you know. Charlotte Stadium only holds 15K. They can move up. Listen, I'm just telling you what I was told. I've been saying they should move up to the Mountain West for a while, but I was told it wasn't possible. I feel like it has to be said, but Florida State fans are crucifying Travis Hunter for choosing an FCS team. But I could have sworn underscore the letters JSU are not allowed in Florida State anymore. They're taking the S. Like Florida State is going to find something new. They're not talking about Jackson State, not Jacksonville State. They're changing their name away from Florida State. There will be no state universities at Florida State, man. They are upset at all JSUs right now, man. They did. They got beat on a Hail Mary, too. Yeah, I figured it was the stadium that stopped them, that and the lack of rivals they would have at the FBS level. Yeah, they wouldn't have any levels. I think for North Dakota State, they would have to get one of the other Dakota teams to go with them. I don't know off the top of my head how big South Dakota State Stadium is or what that program is built like. I don't know if South Dakota State could make the move with them, in my opinion. I would go to James Madison before Liberty. Oh yeah, I would too, Mr. Campbell. Absolutely, and that's why I think James Madison will be fine, man. They're better than some of those programs right now. I think even really and truly, they're better than Liberty. They're better than a lot of these teams in the CUSA and things like that. The Sun Belt's going to be tough because they got Lafayette, they got App State, they got Coastal Carolina, but I think James Madison is going to be a popular pick, and I think they'll be fine, man. Chris, have you seen the signings Michigan got? It's absolutely insane. Yeah, they got that. They also got that 4-star linebacker, Darius Clemens out of Oregon. It came down to Michigan and Auburn, and I was real upset that Michigan got him. But man, they've been landing top prospects, and shout out to Michigan. Listen, Jim Harbaugh did a great job using the momentum of a playoff push to land those top recruits, Chris. But I agree that the recruiting class that Jim Harbaugh put together was impressive. My Bad Blue transition will be on July 1st, 2022, and will end on June 24th, 2024 to compete for conference chips and FBS bowl competition. That's true. Man, appreciate that, Crazy Criminal. I knew there was like a wait period that you couldn't compete for anything, so I appreciate that. Yeah, Sam Houston's going to CUSA. So I think it will take, like I said on the mailbag, probably 2-3 years for them to kind of get their feet under them, especially Jacksonville State. They got a new coach and a new coaching staff. I think Jacksonville State will have the toughest time moving up. I hate the transition period crap, stopping you from going to a bowl game for X amount of years. The NCAA needs to remove it ASAP. I agree. Listen, if you're good enough to move up and make a bowl game year one, why does it matter? I know they did it so that way the teams could have some time with no pressure to build their program. But if you move up and you personally you know, like you make a bowl game or God forbid you win the conference championship, why would you get stopped? I agree. It's a joke. Man, Florida State been a joke for a minute. They'll be a joke again under Norvell. Man, they're trying to find a way to they're trying to take away that contract extension right now. Underscore. They're wishing they didn't give them another year. Larry, the Sun Belt should have added Liberty. They'll be joining Conference USA with Sam Houston. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't add Liberty. Liberty had to be a top. I would say had to be a top choice for conferences, especially with what Hugh Freeze is doing. But they'll be fine in CUSA. The CUSA needed some help, man. It was on life support there for a minute. The FCS school stadium average is 9,000. SWAC beats attendance of the biggest stadiums. Not even the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Oh man, the mascots are crazy, man. I am. All I need to do is add some rollout benches to get there. Listen, Mr. Campbell told all the Bison fan in the chat that he will fund to get some bleachers to get you to the FBS. Stop masquerading at the FCS level, man. Open some spots up in the playoffs. Top FCS teams have bigger viewerships. It's funny, but Petty warchant.com said it would have been worse if Travis Hunter would have committed to FAMU. Man, do you know what? Listen, I'm going to keep it real. Listen, do you know what would have happened if Travis Hunter would have went to FAMU? They would have had to lock Willie Simmons in a chamber somewhere, and they would have had to protect him at all costs because God forbid they lose that. If they lost that recruit to an in-city FCS school, oh man, Mike Norvell would have had to been on the first bus out of town. Oh man, you really wanted to see chaos? Just imagine. Mr. Campbell said they would have cut the power off at FAMU if they would have done that. Oh man, that campus would have been in danger, man. That is too much, man. You were not lying though. They would have cut off the power real quick, man. They were so salty about Jackson State, man. Just imagine if it was FAMU, man. FSU doing the same thing the SWAT does, talking real dirty. If the Big 12 would have added two teams from the FCS replacing Boise State, let's say San Diego State, I think it'll be Montana State. The next Grizz upgrade will be 42,500 seats. They're expanding to over 42,000, Ron. That's crazy. That would be, I'm pretty sure if they expand to 42,000, they would be the second biggest stadium behind Jackson State, who has 60. I'm pretty sure that's the second biggest stadium in the FCS moving up. So, I mean, the Big 12 can look at it because I know there were a lot of those teams in that area, the Dakota teams, the Montana teams that were getting looked at for an upgrade. So maybe that's something to look at in the future, man. But I'm interested to see what the next upgrade is, man. I want to see what it looks like because those fan bases are going to pack it out, man. I'm excited to see that. Talking about the school, but saying you help a kid, blows out his knee for decommitting is just ridiculous. I agree with that, man. You don't want to wish injury on anything, man. That's ridiculous. And yes, people have been saying, yeah, they have. I've seen that. That is a fact. They have been saying he hopes he gets hurt, which is just ridiculous. FAMU has flipped Hunter. Ella, we got our man. Oh man, free Guthers for 4 years, man. Leon, you are too much, man. You were too much. That is that, man. Listen, you were Jesus. Oh man, underscore says someone called him an educated black kid. I'm not sure that means. Okay, uneducated. Man, he's going to college to get. Listen, the Florida State fans are just. I have no words, and listen, I told Scotty yesterday, man. Anything that Dabo says, anything that these talking media heads want to talk about, man, just it's ridiculous. I'm telling you. Listen, you can get way better coverage on the FCS, the SWAC, really and truly some group of 5 teams. You can get way better coverage with independent media on YouTube, man. You ain't got to listen to anybody who has no clue what they're talking about, man. So it's ridiculous. Have you heard anything about Keishawn Butte transferring to Bama? There was a rumor. So Eli Ricks committed to Bama EA, and there was some talk about Keishawn Butte following him. I've heard that it's a rumor right now. Nothing's been confirmed, but if he follows Eli Ricks to Alabama, they're going to be so scary. It's going to be disgusting, man. But I'm interested to see. But he was retweeting a bunch of stuff about him going to Bama last night, so it is a possibility. EA. Slap fans said they were trying to hurt Shador for the season. Uneducated. I bet my life they wouldn't be calling him uneducated if he was on their team. They wouldn't, man. They were so mad that he left Florida State. I mean, you saw the burning the jerseys and everything like that. It's ridiculous. Ron said, speaking about adding the Montana team, specifically the Mountain West, once they upgrade. Yeah, the Mountain West would be perfect, man. Let's see. Jimbo said it right. Said it right the other day. NIL deals have been happening for a hot minute. Man, listen, I'm an Auburn fan. Listen, the $200,000 was the best money Auburn ever spent to get Cameron Newton on campus. Let me tell you, I would pay another 200 grand to see if he had any eligibility left to play one more year at Auburn. Listen, under the table deals have been going on forever, man. I mean, I wasn't born, but like I've seen the documentary and I know about it. But how many people in here remember when SMU had a car lot on campus? They would just give people cars. Every player at SMU back when they had the Pony Express had a brand new car off a car lot that they built on the edge of campus. Like, come on, man. To say that to say that he come on, man. I think you got words for it. Like it's been happening forever. Tennessee got caught giving kids McDonald's bags on official visits to come to come to Tennessee. Who wants to go to Tennessee and lose to the SEC every year? Nobody does. Like, yes, Reggie Bush got a brand new house. Tua's family somehow had the money to move from Hawaii to Tuscaloosa all of a sudden when Tua committed. Like, man, the under the table deals have been going on forever, man. Ever. What you need Cameron Ward on the show? I have reached out to Cameron Ward, but I'm assuming I've reached out to his camp and him on Twitter. I don't think he's doing any interviews until he commits. So listen, as soon as he commits somewhere, I'm gonna be reaching back out to Cameron Ward. We need to get him on the show, but I have reached out. But based on what I can tell, they're not gonna do any interviews really until he commits. Even his dad was the one doing the interview with 247, not him. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna wait till he commits somewhere. But the good news, Auburn reached out to Cameron Ward. Listen, if y'all want to see me act like Scotty on this stream and come with the jersey and the paint and the screaming and everything, let Cameron Ward come to Auburn. We are going to have a live stream Bluebloods party here celebrating Cameron Ward coming to Auburn if he commits to Auburn, because Auburn did reach out to him. Y'all are going to see me act a fool on the stream if he comes to Auburn. Let's see. Someone brought up a good point saying that if he was at FSU, people would have just turned on the TV and said, "Oh, he's playing at FSU. Cool, they still go at 6-6." That's what would have happened, and that's what a lot of people were asking: is why was Travis Hunter going to play for Florida State and not compete for anything? That's a logical question, man. I agree with that. CAA is a one bid lead next season. Yeah, man. Outside of Villanova. Maybe unless they add somebody, but I mean, I think Villanova is the only team that realistically has a shot at the playoffs next year in the CAA, in my opinion. Right now, all of this free marketing for HBCUs, I agree. See, Paul Feinbaum had a take that was unexpected this morning. He covered Eddie Robinson and spoke highly of him and how many players he put in the NFL. Listen, I mean, and Paul Feinbaum really and truly, I mean, it's really I talked to, I'm from Mobile, and that's what, I remember listening to Paul Feinbaum when I was younger. He wasn't really the controversy. It was more the people that called into his show. So I'm not surprised that Paul Feinbaum had that take. I'm not surprised at all, man. And I mean, I know Nick Saban had a pretty solid take about it when he was asked about it. So I'm not surprised about that, really. Have you heard anything about the kid from France? Chris, so I'm a writer for Flower Eagle, of course. The last thing I heard is Auburn felt really good about getting him to come. The number one player in JUCO. I heard Auburn felt real comfortable about where they sat. I know there's some other teams in the running, but from what I heard is that he's an Auburn lean right now. But I'm not sure about where the other schools sit, just because I'm plugged into Auburn and not really the other schools. But I know Auburn people I've talked to on campus feel like they're going to land him when he commits. Paul Feinbaum had a take. Oh, I already read that one. Who you got? NDSU or JMU? Hines, I picked JMU over North Dakota State, man. I had them win it. I had them winning by 24. I believe it was 24-20 was my score. So I had JMU over North Dakota State. He said, "Damn, anyone but Bama." I agree. I agree, man. People who burn jerseys are illogical and sad. It's just college, man. Listen, if I'm how about this? They could have called me and said, "Hey, man, do you want this Florida State Prime jersey?" I would have. That's fine. I need a Prime autograph jersey, man. Give it to me. Don't burn it. Let me have it. I'll even give you a bit of money for it. I agree. Burning the jerseys is just dumb. So I wonder how much Tebow got paid. Whatever Florida paid Tebow, it was worth it, Leon. It was absolutely worth it. Are you going to do a breakdown of potential FCS draft picks so we can check? Oh yeah, Mr. Campbell. Listen, I like I said, I graduate. Like I'm moving literally in like I think it's like a week and a half. Man, I got a little bit of time off. I'm gonna have so much FCS draft content that y'all are gonna be experts. Like this channel, if you're a subscriber, you're gonna be the Mel Kipers of the world, knowing about FCS draft picks. We're gonna I'm gonna break it down by conference. So I mean, we're doing everything swag. Big Sky, MVFC, everything, man. We're gonna cover all the FCS draft picks because they don't get enough shine. Don't forget 2013 Louisville basketball team with the strippers, and then also on top of that, you also had the the Ole Miss recruits of Laramie Tunsil getting the strippers on visits to Ole Miss, man. I mean, it happens all the time. Did you about hear about CJ Holmes and James Houston getting an in-person invite to the Collegiate Bowl? I did not, but that's great, man. I'm so glad that James Houston got an opportunity to go somewhere. I'm also happy for CJ, but James Houston had to get a postseason bowl invite, man. That kid is way too good. Hey, the Tuas ain't take money. They drove to Alabama. Oh, man. He said they drove from Hawaii to Alabama. Even Vandy plays player for baseball at least. Man, I hope they don't pay the football players, but that baseball team is nasty. Listen, I'm not a huge baseball guy, but I saw them play. So when Auburn went to the College World Series, I went up to Nebraska for the Auburn game and I saw Vandy play. That Vandy baseball team is so good, man. That year they ended up winning the title. Vandy baseball is on a different level. Saxon, you could have sold it and got some money out of it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would have bought it. Just let me know. Let me know where I can get a Deion Sanders Florida State jersey. Paul is pro prom. Yeah, he is. He definitely is. Richmond can make the playoffs in the CAA, but they could probably only win. Yeah, Richmond would be probably the next one up, but we'll see about that one. Saban is okay unless Prom steals his players. He knows what Prom did as a major threat to parity. Listen, if you are a college football fan, why would you not want more parity? What is like, and that's the biggest thing. Like, I never understood about all that. Like, because okay. So let me say this: I understand the Florida State outrage, how they handled it, kind of ridiculous. I mean, especially some people took it way too far. But I understand being upset that you lost the number one recruit in the country because I understand that every school in the country would be upset that that happened. But all the fake outrage from all the other people who aren't connected to Florida State is absolutely just like ridiculous to me. If you are a football fan, it should make you feel good if you're not a fan of the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Clemsons, the Georgias, that you now have a chance to potentially land a good player, especially if you're an FCS fan. And I didn't see all the and the one thing I do want to credit FCS fans for is that everyone was happy. I don't like I've saw in the FCS groups, North Dakota State fans, Sam Houston fans, everyone was pumped about it. But for all the not really fake outrage, but all the outrage from the other P5 universities was just so ignorant, man. Like if you are a football fan, it is good that more than one school is getting all the 5 stars. It is even more amazing that the number one recruit in the country felt like he could go to the FCS. And this whole idea that it's going to ruin college football or this or that. I mean, it's so stupid, man. Because like apparently everyone just likes watching Bama and Clemson play for 9 years straight in the national. Like it's just I'm on a whole soapbox on that. We can go for hours on that. But the fact that all these random people were crying about it and saying that they must have cheated and did this and did that, it just showed the ignorance of like 80% of college football fans, man. And I mean, that goes for people I know that were like, man, can you believe it? Like this. Like, it's just crazy, man. We'll get off of it because I know there's going to be some people who can get their feelings hurt and all that. We'll just leave it at that. Eli Ricks transferred to Alabama. Yeah, he did, and I it's gonna be a problem at that corner spot because they got Kool-Aid McKinstry, they got Eli Ricks now, they got who's to say battle at safety. They got some dogs in the secondary, man. Blue Kuiper big board. Yeah, man, we're gonna have the whole big board and everything. Okay, so they got invites today. I'll have to look that up, man. I didn't see that, but listen, recruiting's been so big, man. I probably missed I missed so many different like storylines. FCS coaches work together in the off season. They have conferences together. Tua's family had them cars that turned into boats. Oh man, underscores too much, man. EW's EWU's coach talked about when he got the head coach. They worked with Florida. Gotcha. Because I want my team to win every year. Only time folks want parity is when they're 3-9 and worse. That's fair enough, man. Hey, that's fair enough. I got you. I got you, Ao. Took it way too far. Not getting top recruits mean it's time for a coach to coach, earn your pay. Agreed, man. Grown men and women really crying over a 17 to 18-year-old's decision. Listen, that's a whole nother thing, man. That dude today, it's Thursday, December 16th. That dude was sitting in algebra today and had grown men sending him death threats, man. I mean, there's some people that gotta reevaluate their life. That's just ridiculous. He said, I sent Blue on a tangent. Oh man, you're good. You're good. He said, preach. He said the outrage is because they feel the football power structure slipping. I want to see where any school at any level can be competitive with any other school. That's what I'm saying, man. Like the fact that you want to see the same two schools win the national championship every year, man, every single year. Like, are you serious? Like, wow, like, isn't it great that this year that we had Michigan for the first time in the playoffs? Isn't it great that we have a Montana State in the semifinals? Like, don't you want to see more teams play better? Like, let me ask y'all a question. Are y'all happy when a team's really bad in your conference and then you got to watch let's say if let's be real. We'll use an FCS conference. Who's excited to go watch your team play a winless team in your conference? Name who gets excited for that. The attendance suffers, the TV viewership suffers, and therefore the revenue suffers. And who wants to invite recruits on their campus to watch them play a nobody? It's not good for anybody for teams to be bad. Do you want to know when Jackson State got Travis Hunter to commit or visit? The Alcorn game, which was a determining factor for the SWAC championship. Do you know Auburn's biggest recruiting weekend? The Iron Bowl, because Alabama's really damn good and the crowd's going to be the loudest and the atmosphere is going to be the best. If you're FAMU, you want people to visit when Bragg is filled and rocking. If you're a North Dakota State fan, you want everybody in the MVFC to be good so you can bring recruits multiple weekends to see the atmosphere and see the competition and the passion and the pageantry. Like, it's not good for like four teams to be good and everyone else kind of suck. Like, it's like I'm telling you, Leon, it's people got to change their perspective so fast. If I was FSU, I'd let it handle on the field. They don't want the smoke, man. They don't want the smoke. Not after what happened to Jacksonville State. Not after what happened to Jacksonville State. Let's see. He bought the players. It's not fair. Even though my team bought players, it's okay. It's just my team. Yep, exactly. That's it. NFLPA flight into giving advice. Okay, that's dope, man. I'm gonna look it up after the live stream. I would love to get your opinion on what he said. Are you talking about Mr. Game? Are you talking about Travis Hunter and like his statement of why he committed, or who? Like, let me know what opinion you're talking about. If JSU wins Saturday, they'll be a top 10 team next year. Maybe can win that championship without the playoffs. I think you still have to. I'm pretty sure you still have to like go to the playoffs to win the Natty, Lawrence. I'm pretty sure. I still think whoever wins the FBS championship will still be the national champion, but they would probably you could probably claim it, but I think there'd still be another team who would say that since they won the playoffs, they'd be the Natty. I want to see more SWAC teams in the playoffs anyway, but that's a whole nother conversation, and you got to get the money right. And I don't want to go down that soapbox today, but I agree that they probably could claim a Natty if they finish first in the final standings. Yes, competitive football is what we want. I was sad when the Big Sky took Northern Colorado, Southern Utah, and Cal Poly and UC Davis over. Man, listen, that conference would have been That conference would have been deadly, man. If you add North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and South Dakota to the Big Sky, man, that wouldn't even be a fair conference. Jesus Christ, man, that would be just stupid to have Montana, Montana State, those teams, Eastern Washington. Man, you can't do any of that. Let's see, pass legislation to rein in the NIL deals. Man, the fact, oh man, it's aggravating, man. The fact that they're already trying to change rules because one player went to FCS is just like oh yeah, if in okay, we'll get on the soapbox, Mr. Campbell. We just extended the live stream by 30 minutes, but for me, it's well, this is a twofold argument for me. One, I still think the NCAA is the most corrupt organization in like college sports right now, or just sports in general. Two, until college football decides to pull away, there's going to be shady shit going down at every single level of college sports, like the whole Adidas scandal in college basketball, all the way to suspending players for a whole season in a national championship coach losing his job because players were signing jerseys. Are we serious? And in terms and things like this, the fact that one that people are hating on player movement or player freedom, in terms of movement of their careers, is just it shows what some people think of college athletes, and it's just an ignorant mindset where it's like, okay, so now they committed to our university, so now like they're like you can't ever take that. Like if they leave, like now they're the enemy, and we gotta we gotta criticize and scream at 20-year-old kids about making a proper decision, and then they're gonna have to sit out a year and things like that. The whole transfer portal argument, I hate to talk about it because so many people have a skewed mindset on that. Now for the NIL and changing legislations to pass, the fact that they're still looking for a competitive advantage, even though Mr. Campbell, I know me and you have talked about they already have a competitive advantage. For one, because you get more funding, you get more leeway, you got more under the table deals going on. You already got the advantage, and now you're going to go try to change the deals, for the NIL to get even more competitive advantage. Is just an absolute the audacity of that is just on another level, in my opinion. But the fact that one some and then for legislation to not allow high school kids to set up NIL deals before they commit to a college or get on campus is also stupid. Why would you want to limit a kid's ability to better his life? What is it going to matter if he could sign an NIL deal in your state or not? That's got to change as well. But the fact that there's still because one, they're going to try to limit it for FCS programs. They're going to do like the scholarship thing and be like, you can only sign this much for an NIL deal, or you got to split it with. They're going to try something funky, it, in my opinion, based off of one transfer. I want to put that in perspective. One kid had to transfer, and now they're going to try to change the whole structure. That's the impact that Jackson State had yesterday, and that's what I was talking to Scotty about on his live stream. Is I don't think people really and truly put it in perspective what happened yesterday. They really don't understand the impact it had and that is going to have moving forward. So the fact that I don't remember if you guys remember the UCF kid. He was a punter. I think his Twitter or his YouTube name now is like Destroyer or something like that. He committed to UCF, had a YouTube channel with millions of views and everything, and had to quit college football because he couldn't make money on the side. That how does that make any sense at all? And on top of that, this is a conversation a lot of FBS guys don't want to have. And I didn't even know this until I started covering the SWAC. The fact that these FCS kids have to have jobs in the all season, and you're telling me Bryce Young can't have a job because because the structure is different and he's getting better benefits and things like that at Bama compared to a player at any FCS school is ridiculous in the first place. And now you're going to say, because these FCS players can find ways to support themselves and might not have to work at a job and can better themselves as individuals in a major time in development of a person, which is that 18 to like 25 range, that now they can't benefit themselves and that they shouldn't be able to get the same NIL deals a P5 kid could get, or they have to limit their opportunities to go to certain schools. It's just ignorant in itself. And I think if they do anything to take away, you know, take away in terms of NIL deals or NIL opportunities or things like that, Mr. Campbell, I think it is going to lead to it's going to lead to a lot of problems. And I think the fact that now, because of what Jackson State did, is it's caused this much pressure on the NCAA is ridiculous. And I'm telling you, please pull away from the NCAA, man. They are going to be corrupt to the end of time. It is too late. There's a bunch of old white dudes in suits that have no idea what they're doing, and they're ruining college football for everybody in the country. And they need new, fresh minds that understand what's going on and that want what's best for the athletes. And until that happens, man, you're going to see a bunch of sketchy stuff like this, passing legislation things to limit certain universities and help others. For me, I think it's all shady, man. That's my opinion on it. And I know that was kind of word vomit all over the place, but I have just so many opinions. I want to do a whole episode on that in terms. And if you go back and watch, me and Brandon had a joint episode about why college football needs a commissioner, and it really goes over a lot of these issues that we're talking about right now. So no, like I'm not saying he got them in class. I'm talking about you already know if they were doing everything they were, man. He probably has so many DMs about talking crazy about everything he's done, man. So I was just saying, he didn't get him directly in class. It's enough talent out there for FCS, FBS, and D2. I agree, man. I agree. Why can we just skip to next season already? I agree, Corey, man. No off season. Let's just jump right into the next one, man. Imagine crying over another man who you never met to a school that you don't follow. That's what I'm saying, man. Exactly. The power structure wants it that way. It's a good old boys club, and they do not want to share the money. Yep, that's there you go. I said Cincinnati is the underdog in the Final Four. Oh yeah, Cincinnati is the major underdog in the Final Four, man. If they win it, it's going to be all chaos is going to break loose, man. All chaos. Let's see. The Devil's Advocate, free win and easy homecoming. Travis Hunter's last high school game is this Saturday on ESPN. Man, I can't wait to watch it. I'm going to be honest. I can't wait to see it. The SWAC does. I'm just playing. I want to see the best of the best play. Let's play snot knocking football every weekend. Coaches poll and stats give out their own national championship trophies. Oh yeah, the Jackson State absolutely could probably win that if they go undefeated. 1,000%. Agreed, man. I got way behind on these, man. Ooh. Let's see. Remember where they made dunking illegal when Kareem came along? Exactly. The article is on Sports Illustrated. Pull it up. All right. Let's see. Can't beat them. Go to the politician and cry. Exactly. Big Sky decisions were based on other factors in other sports other than football. Do you think Travis Hunter is going to flip at the Under Armour All-American game in the Polynesian Bowl? Nah. Or how many players? Oh, okay. Listen, I've heard Shamar. I think it's Shamar Stewart committed that is deciding between. I think it's like A&M and a few other schools. He's linked to Jackson State. Also, Stewart, he's like the number 1 or 2 wide receiver in the country. A 5-star has been rumored to possibly flip from A&M to Jackson State as well. I think there could be some major flips to Jackson State. I've been hearing a lot of different rumors that there's a lot of players now considering following Travis Hunter to Jackson State. No, please, let's have that conversation. The MEAC and SWAC should be allowed to keep our FCS automatic bid for our champs and still send our champions to the Celebration Bowl. Listen, okay, so that's true, Robbie, but the problem is, and this is and I'll keep it brief because I know some people on here, like we've all talked about this, but the reason that's still not possible, man, is because of the Grambling Southern Bayou Classic. So just a little bit of backstory here. The playoffs used to be smaller. They didn't expand till, just recently to 2014. So it started the week after Thanksgiving. So the SWAC could have had an automatic bid. But now that it expanded, they moved the first round to the weekend of Thanksgiving to avoid playing on Christmas week. So they'll play the semifinals this weekend, take a break, and then play the national title the first week of January. The reason that they won't move it is because Southern and Grambling are not going to move the Bayou Classic from the Thanksgiving weekend, which therefore pushes the SWAC championship to the second weekend of the playoffs. So there's no way to have an automatic bid to the playoffs for the SWAC unless Southern and Grambling said we don't care about the SWAC championship, just have it without us, which is not going to happen as well. So until the FCS and SWAC work together to work out some scheduling thing, Robbie, even if the SWAC wanted to do the playoffs, they wouldn't. And it seems like right now the playoffs are kind of on the back burner to the Celebration Bowl too. But to have both Grambling and Southern would still have to move that game. And you still have the fact that Alabama State has the Turkey, I believe it's the Turkey Day Classic on that Thursday. They would have to move that as well. So there's a lot more moving parts than just, keeping the Celebration Bowl. And I think that's going to be the thing. Sean, our emails on our about page, it should just be, I believe it's just the bluebloodspod@gmail.com. But it's on our about page if you want our email. Yeah, definitely send over the link. It's on our about page, and it's just the bluebloodspod@gmail.com. The transfer portal gives the player freedom to correct a mistake. Also, FCS schools recruiting these guys can build a relationship so it doesn't work out. They can have an angle. I agree, man. Listen, I mean, how many of you guys were 100% confident in decisions you made for when you were 18? Listen, I made a lot of horrible decisions in multiple areas of my life when I was 18. So I couldn't imagine having to live with if I couldn't correct a decision I made when I was 18 years old, with all the pressure of the world on you to decide where you're going to go play football, get an education, and you're the number one. Let's say you're a 5-star, man. You have every school in the country promising you the world to come to their school. So the fact that people think that these kids have to be locked into a decision is ridiculous. These kids got YouTube channels that can make more money than their NIL deal. Exactly, man. YouTube is the best. I mean, how many of you guys are subscribed to like Shiloh and stuff like that? I mean, it's so easy to build a following on YouTube when you already have a brand. Salty behavior, literally one recruit and then boom, yeah, destroying. Let's see. He was a highly touted kicker too, which is the crazy part. Exactly. Because FU only the NCAA should make money. That's how they work, man. That is literally how they work. Frost was the best thing for him. Kid gave away a new Range Rover last week, probably making $600K a year. Man, he's doing his thing. Shout out to him for making a career, man. Absolutely making a career out of everything and turning a really bad situation to a positive. Shout out to him for that. Frost could have worked with him. Dude tells the story on his channel. He demonetized all his videos. That's so messed up, man. No, those Dakota schools were not chosen. The fault of Missoula's O'Day. Northern Colorado was chosen because of a former Montana coach. 2 of those schools aren't in the Big Sky now. Okay, gotcha. Actually, you're right. NCAA, not Frost. From Florida as well, just putting out what I'm hearing from a power and Group of 5 booster and alum. Reminds me of that 4-star running back at Baylor. He was sleeping on his friend's couch. Exactly. And he was broken. The team had to let him go because he was receiving help. Like, man, you were just receiving, like he was receiving help by sleeping on a couch because that dude had nowhere to go. Are you like, man, listen, y'all gonna get me real worked up tonight. This is too much, man. This is too much. I'm about to type in my email right here for you, man. Let's see, let me get to one of these comments before I do that. Did I freeze on this? There we go. I got it back. Never mind. All right, names for ETSU head coach job. I've not heard any. So CJ, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I've been so busy with recruiting, man. I have not even looked at the coaching search yet. I'll do some research for you, and on the mailbag on Tuesday, I'll definitely come and do that. I'm pulling up this article for Sean real quick. All right, let's get it up here. See, the SWAC set up those games because they gave up their automatic bid. The MEAC would be worried about surviving as a conference. That's an automatic bid. The FBS plays Christmas week bowl games. Why can't the FCS adjust? Oh no, they should. I agree. And if you're the FCS, why would you not want, like, especially with the popularity and the hype right now that the SWAC is getting, why would you not want them in the playoffs? And I think it's way too short-sighted right now for me. So I don't know, man. They need to adjust. I don't know why. That's a crazy good job in the FCS right now. Yeah, it is. ETSU has had a lot of momentum this year. They had a lot of great players, and so I think ETSU would be a really good job. I have not heard who's interested in it though. To be honest with you, I know we got some Tennessee guys in here who might kind of follow ETSU, so they might be able to help you more there. But listen, man, I'll do the research on who's the candidates, and I'll probably drop an episode or talk about it on the mailbag next week. That we can kind of go over who I'm hearing being linked to the job. Let's see. See this. Okay, is that yeah? That's the kid that was sleeping on the couch. Okay, if the MEAC can get Bowie State and Savannah State, they can get the conference back on track. They got to go. They got to pull some teams from the D2 level. I know some people don't like that idea, but for me, I mean, listen, if it's either one, you let your conference die and possibly not have an at-large bid, or you bite the bullet and you go get a kid that you need. I don't know, or go get a team that you need. So I'm not sure what they're going to do, but we'll see. But I agree they should pull some D2 teams, have a North and South division. We haven't heard much, but East Tennessee doesn't say much. Yeah, that's the thing with like FCS in general, man. So that's the thing with FCS. That's the team with D2. There's no insiders. So like any coaching search at the P5 level, there's like there's like 5-10 people on the beat at all times. They're tracking planes, they're tracking who pulls into the facility, they're talking to boosters. For like an FCS program, everything can be kept under wraps so nicely because you don't have a bunch of beat reporters trying to come, knock down your door to find out who was in the interview and things like that. So ETSU might be keeping things under wraps, CJ, but I'm going to try my best to try to find at least some candidates. I know right now is a really tough time to need a head coach. I know he kind of retired unexpectedly, but a lot of these big coaching searches have ended though, so at least they should be able to, contact some people and try to find out what's going on. The D2 playoffs is over, or it's going to be over, and so they could probably contact some of the top coaches at the D2 level if that's the direction they want to go. Savannah was in the MEAC years ago, but went back down. D1 through 60 said that Virginia State would be the best option. That's true, and also the thing that before I speculate on D2 programs, there's a lot of other like politics that come along with it. I don't know what their, I don't know, I don't know what their funding is. I don't know what their stadium situation is like, their enrollment. So maybe there's a reason they're not looking to move up. But I do know there's a lot of D2 programs looking to possibly move up in the future. Now, I don't know what the CIAA is looking like right now, but I mean Virginia State would be an option, Savannah State, but I'm not sure what the finances of those programs look like moving up to the MEAC as well. And I also don't know would that be a move to save the conference because you would add more bodies, but what value would that offer? Would they be able to sustain? Would they increase the odds on the MEAC? Would be the question I think a lot of people would have there. Why not rename the SWAC championship? Celebration Bowl. Forget your traditions to come to the 20. Come on, man. That's a take. They're probably gonna answer that question, Ron. They're gonna answer that question for you, Ron. My problem, most FCS team schedules are done. We gotta wait till September just to find out. I don't so they should just release them, man. It's ridiculous that they like trying to hide it like it's some big secret. I mean, unless they're gonna roll it out in like some special way, but um man, we'll see. Let's see. The MEAC has 6 teams. We're going to add teams in the future, but for right now, the MEAC is actually in a better position than we may seem like. 6 out of conference game each year for the MEAC. Yeah, and I mean, you saw South Carolina State. What they played FAMU, they played Bethune, and they also played Alabama A&M. And so they played 3 of their. They got to pick 3 SWAC games to play, and then they played out of conference elsewhere. I mean, the MEAC does have more schedule flexibility that way, but it kind of depends. I mean, the biggest thing for the MEAC that hurt them, in my opinion, was the fact that their conference champion was 6-5. That really hurt the perception of what the MEAC is doing overall, in my opinion, just because it's a bad. If an average fan, I would say, went and looked at the MEAC, they'd be like 6-5 won the conference, and they just assumed that the conference was overall bad. When really and truly, they just all kind of like they lost a lot of out of conference games to really good teams. Like I believe South Carolina State lost to North Carolina A&T. They lost to Alabama A&M, and they lost to FAMU. Those were three of their out of conference losses, and then they lost to Clemson, and they lost to was it New Mexico or New Mexico State? So I mean, those three losses weren't atrocious in my opinion. So I think that the perception of the MEAC was hurt by records rather than people looking into who they actually lost to. Silence said, did Quay Davis enter the transfer portal? I've not heard he transferred. So that red shirt is weighing on him. I don't. I'm pretty sure Quay Davis did transfer, but I'll have to double check that. I do not think he transferred though. Yeah, I knew Leon was coming. But man, overall though, man, it's been such a big day for it's been such a big week for FCS in general. And I kind of mentioned it earlier. Travis Hunter going to Jackson State, Alabama A&M did a huge job on the recruiting trail. I don't know if you guys saw Campbell has the highest rated FCS recruiting class right now. They have like 8 or 9 3-stars right now in their class. I don't know how Campbell's doing this, but Campbell has one of the highest rated FCS classes. There were a bunch of great transfers. Shout out to Light on Sports for kind of covering all the different commitments across the FCS. There were some huge pickups, and I think overall, man, it was a huge day for just especially the SWAC, but just the FCS overall, man. And then last week, the TV ratings out the roof for the quarterfinals, and I'm really interested to see. I want to see what the Celebration Bowl viewership is going to be. I want to see what the semifinals viewership is going to be, and I can't wait, man. And listen, for Montana State to sell out, I believe the Fargo Dome is sold out, and on top of that, the Celebration Bowl has sold out of those standing room only tickets that they released. Man, I'm just impressed overall with like a huge step that the FCS taken. I think it's going to be a bright future, man, and I'm hoping that moving forward, we see more channels emerge that cover the FCS, that cover the SWAC, that cover more than just like the P5 football. And I know that I cover P5 football as well, but we need more coverage of all levels of college football. And I wish more analysts, took the time to understand all levels of football. I feel like they just kind of focus on one thing or the other and really don't I feel like understanding all levels of football gives you a unique perspective of what's going on around the country. So I'm hoping that we see more channels pop up as we go along. Man, appreciate it, Ron. I definitely appreciate you tuning in, man. The MEAC has to be proactive versus reactive. Hopefully they won't repeat what the Big 12 went through. Yeah, just the number one thing I don't want to see any of these conferences do is the Southland and the MEAC have a long way to go in terms of kind of, like you said, reacting to what happened. I don't want to see them just add a bunch of random teams that don't add any value. I want to see. For me, I want to see value added to the conference. I want to see good teams added. If the Southland can get somebody like a Valdosta State, if they can get somebody like a West Florida from the D2 level, that'd be great. But I don't want to just go see them just grab a bunch of random teams that aren't going to add value. I want to see real talent emerge in the Southland and the MEAC and some of these conferences adding teams. If the CAA wants to replace James Madison, go get somebody that's going to add some real value. Don't just, don't water down the FCS because it's only going to hurt what's, the movement in the movement right now in FCS and the increase in popularity. The FCS is looking good. I agree. What's your viewer predictions? The FCS playoffs and Celebration Bowl. So for viewership, I'll give you what it should be. The Celebration Bowl should not have any less than 3 million viewers. If ETSU and North Dakota State can get almost 2 million views when North Dakota State was a 26-point favorite coming into that game, no reason the Celebration Bowl should have any less than 3 million on ABC with hardly any competition. It's got to hit 3 million in my opinion. And if not, 2.5 would be solid, but I think it's going to be somewhere in between 2.5 and 3 for the Celebration Bowl. For the semifinals, man, it's so hard. I think personally the highest rated one is going to be James Madison, North Dakota State, because Friday night they don't have much competition. It's in prime time. but these games are on ESPN2, not ESPN. I'm hoping they both hit over 1 million. I think they're going to fall somewhere within 1 million to like 2 million views, most likely, for both the semifinal games. But I really hope the championship does big numbers too. I mean, I don't view it as a competition, between the two. So I hope they both hit as many viewers as they can, man. I want to see more FCS football get promoted and talked about. This past spring really got me into FCS football, so I kept up with it this season. Yeah, man, same here. I mean, I've always kind of watched, FCS football, but I've really got invested in the spring, and I'm glad that I could be one of the people that can cover it and talk about it, and that you guys are rocking with it, man. So I appreciate it. Let's see, Bowie State, Virginia State, and a few others would be good for the MEAC, but honestly, we're better off than we are perceived. Bowie State is a D2 power. That is true. A Southland MEAC merger. There's no Leon. As much as I think it would be fine, there'd be so many people that would probably lose their minds. So that I think a SWAC MEAC merger would be way more likely. I just can't see the MEAC, letting just a bunch of Southland teams join the conference. I'm not sure that would be a good idea, but I think there'd be a lot of people that'd be against it, in my opinion. Boise State just won two D2 playoff games. Yeah, man, they made a good run. And then I know on top of that, man, Albany State is just on a different, or no, Valdosta State. Valdosta State's just on another level down there, man. I know Leon kind of put me on them one of the last lives. Probably do know for a fact that the CAA is farted and interested in 2 MEAC schools. I know. So I did read an article where that said they were interested. I don't know if there's fire behind the smoke, but I do know that the CAA is probably looking to add a team. I mean, losing James Madison is so tough for that conference. I mean, you're losing the best team in your conference. You only got 2 bids this year with Villanova and James Madison. Adding a team is almost a necessity. I just don't know who. I don't know who they add that adds a ton of value. I mean, they could add. They can what I don't. They didn't say which 2 schools, Crazy Criminal, but I did see that they were looking at the MEAC as one of the possible conferences. If you're looking in the MEAC, though, who do you add that is a surefire hit? Would y'all be okay with South Carolina State? Maybe. I mean, they won it this year. Okay, Leon said Howard, so maybe Howard. Um, it's going to be iffy. It's going to be interesting if the MEAC loses another school. I can't. What happens to the MEAC, man? I mean, really and truly, if they let's say they lose 2 teams to the CAA, there's no way that conference survives, man. Like unless you bring up the a bunch of the CIAA teams, but I just if you lose another team, man, it's going to be so tough to keep that conference together. I feel like we'll see. The CAA was talking to Howard in the Big Southampton. Okay, and then Howard's not leaving the MEAC. I just find it hard. I think those last few MEAC teams are going to stand strong together. I really do. If they're going to make a move, they're going to make a move together. In my opinion, I don't think they want to see the MEAC, just I would say dissipate would be the word. I think they want to try to keep it together as long as possible. But I'm going to look into some more of the expansion rumors for the CAA and what's going on. And then, of course, definitely look into the ETSU coaches search for the next live. But, man, listen, I appreciate y'all rocking with me on Thursday night, man. I'm going to knock out some of these recruiting episodes tonight for you guys. So tomorrow you can expect a bunch of recruiting updates from me on this channel. So make sure to tune into that. Also, we got some big interviews lined up for next week, reaching out to some of these new FCS recruits to see if they can get in. And, of course, as these teams get eliminated from the playoffs, reaching out to some of those top players to see if they want to come on the show, man. But, listen, I appreciate y'all rocking with me right here on the Blue Bloods, man. Listen, next Tuesday, another mailbag. And, of course, we're going to start dropping some more bold previews, so tune in for those, man. But I appreciate y'all tuning in. Love y'all's comments. Love y'all's interaction, man. Y'all have a great Thursday night. But for right now, guys, the Blue Bloods are out.